Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we are in the test server, and what I want to talk to you guys about is the new fusion champion, Roric Wyrmbane. Now, there's going to be a Fragment Fusion event, and I think he's going to be someone you guys are going to want to go for. There's no guarantees that he's going to be amazing for your accounts. In fact, for a lot of you, he probably won't be game-changing. He's not that kind of a champion. He's not a Brogni, he's not an Iron Brago, but he does have some really unique abilities that no other champion in this game really has. I think there are going to be some fun places to use him. I don't know if he's ever going to become meta or super necessary, but I think when you can get a unique champion like this, it's definitely worth grabbing. And so I'm going to let you guys know that up front. This is a fusion you're probably going to want to do. Now, I have a few videos lined up. I did not spend a ton of time on the Doom Tower because it looks really difficult. So what I decided to do is focus on Roric Wyrmbane. I built a couple clan boss teams with him. I built an arena team with him, and I'm going to show you guys that over the next day or two. But today what I want to do is talk about his kit, talk about how he plays, and show you a few clips I did of him in Spider and in Dragon, so you can kind of get a good overview of how he's going to be as far as your dungeon progression or even like Doom Tower progression type of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. I do want to shout out my Patreons. I really can't do this kind of work without them. They are the ones that support me going in and out of this, so I just want to give them a big shout out. And if you guys want to become a Patreon, there's links down below in the comment and pinned description of this video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and look at this champion, Roric Wyrmbane. So this is Roric. I'm sure you guys have already seen him. He's obviously based off the Hound from Game of Thrones. He's even got the burn on his face right there. I do love the Dragon Slayer armor. I love the big crossbow. I even love the massive maul, even though you can kind of see, maybe you guys can't see, but there's a slight outline where the crossbow, I'm assuming, used to be there. I assume they just made an artistic change in how they wanted to go about doing this. But Roric's really, really cool looking champion. So that part's great. He's got a lot of interesting skills, including a nice aura, speed in all battles 19%, that makes him a lot more useful in places like Arena. Now, we're going to go through his kit here, and there's a lot of different things, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how I would use him, where I could use him, and some potential ideas with him. So first off, his A1, it's a double hit. Each one has a 40% chance of placing a stun debuff, and if it doesn't place a stun, will fill his turn meter by 15%. That means that's on each hit. So this is a really strong skill here. Basically, that's a 30% turn meter boost when going against champions that can't be stunned. So that can be in arena, that can be in bosses for dungeons. It definitely can be in clan boss. It's going to make them a little tricky to tune for something like clan boss, but it's a very strong skill. Not to mention, that does book up to 50%, by the way. But a stun on the A1, that's a very nice skill to have. So already his kit looks really strong. His A2 here, single target attack, decreases the turn meter by 75%. Now, books up to 100% with that. Now, if this fully depletes the turn meter, it places a stun on all other enemies. This skill is nuts. I mean, it's just a nuts skill. There are some caveats, though. Yes, when you can reduce turn meter all the way, it's amazing. But as we know, with the higher stage dungeons, the turn meter reduction is halved. So even though it says 75% against the higher dungeon levels, 21 through 25, against a lot of the Doom Tower bosses, that's actually only a 37.5% turn meter reduction. And since you have to reduce them all the way to 0 in order to spread that stun out, this skill is not as useful as it might seem at first blush. Now, that doesn't mean it's not good. It's freaking bonkers skill. AoE stun with the turn meter reduction. I mean, that's a crazy, crazy ability, but it's a little tricky to get working, especially on auto. Now, if you're manually a run, you can always choose when to use it, but on auto, it's a little tricky, and the AI is a little wonky right now. I've reported that. I think Plarium's going to be looking at that to try and fix it up some, but right now it is a little bit wonky, so you're gonna have to deal with that a little bit. Now, the skill I love, this is my favorite skill that he has, is a Scale Breaker, this A3 one. It's a single attack and ignores 50% of target defense. Now, we all know, and you ignore half the defense, it's already an amazing ability, right? Decreased defense is such a good debuff to put on, and when he has that basically in his kit, that's a pretty massive skill. The part that I love about it, though, is the passive ability. We'll always use this skill instead of the default skill when counterattacking. I mean, that is nuts. And it can't be blocked by active skill debuffs. Now, this is a crazy ability. Obviously, we're already thinking, let's pair him with the counterattack champion. Let's try to get him in retaliation gear. Let's do or avenging gear, something to get him those counterattacks, because each one of those hits does a lot of work. It's a very hard hitting skill. Now, he has an incredibly high base attack. I think the second highest in the game, with over 1600. So it's very easy to build his attack super high. I do not believe the multipliers on the skill are crazy high. They're good. Clearly, he does good damage with this ability, but they're not crazy high, especially when you factor in that he's ignoring half of the target's defense. So there is, I think, a ceiling to how effective this can be. But because it's such a high base, you can really stack that attack and build it really, really high. So I'm going to be showing some of that in the next couple of days. Now, his passive ability here is the part where I immediately thought Clan Boss, immune to stun debuffs. Also deals 15% more damage to bosses and receives 15% less damage from them. This is obviously an amazing skill against bosses, but it's also really, really good for Clan Boss specifically. So there's a lot of potential here to Roric Wyrmbane, how he can be used, where you would want to take him. I feel like we're going to see some of him in Arena. We're definitely going to see him in some Clan Boss teams. Maybe not my preferred choice, but he definitely can do work there. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see some people using him in dungeons as well. So he has a lot of utility to him. He's not a groundbreaking champion. He's not going to, set the world on fire or like completely change your account or your team. But I think he can be slotted into a variety of spots and have good effect for you. And I think obviously the newer a player you are, the more effective this is going to be. Now, for an endgame player like myself, he's probably not going to really make my squad. I might use him in Arena because I built a team. It was really fun. But outside of like that kind of niche build, I don't see him actually having much of a place in this game. My guess, though, is you will see him in some Gold 4 Arena stuff, maybe even some lower level Plat builds. And honestly, when you see some of the big brains, what they're doing in the high end Plat, you might see him get broken out of the vault for some of these people. So I'm interested to see what some of the more expert Arena creators can really come with and create for the community to use with him. But enough of that. What I want to do is I want to talk to you or show you actually how I used him in Spider and how I used him in Dragon. There's some weird stuff with his AI kit. He really does not like to use the Scale Breaker skill against bosses, which is kind of strange because it seems like it's tailor-made for that. But he doesn't seem to like to use that. Instead, he prefers this turn meter boost with the Worm Hammer and the turn meter reduction with the A2 skill. So depending on the boss too, sometimes that doesn't get used either. So there are some interesting things about his kit. Definitely going to want to pay attention to that. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at that now. So I'm going to take Roric here into dungeons. I'm going to try and show him in a variety of different dungeons so you can kind of get a look at him. Definitely spiders, definitely dragon, so you can see how effective he is. We're also going to try and take him into Ice Golem and Fire Knight and see how that works as well. What I want to show you right now are his stats that I have him equipped in. I have him in a hybrid build, right? I have him with enough accuracy for most dungeon levels, good crit rate damage, decent speed, could be faster, and a lot of attack. Now, you'll notice he has one of the highest base attacks in this game. I think it's the second highest in this game, which is pretty insane numbers. But his HP is low. His defense is okay, solid speed, whatever. Basically, it's going to be hard, as it always is, to build anybody in a hybrid type of set. As far as the masteries go, this is more of a clan boss setup, but I think it should work just fine for us for this. This is my Ice Golem team. We'll kind of see how this goes here. So coming here into stage 24 of Ice Golems. Now 25 and 20, he's the wrong affinity, so I didn't want to use him for that. But you can see, here we go. We have all of his skills available. Dragon's Rage is A2. That's the one he's actually going to use right here. And he gets that stun out on everybody else. It's a wonderful, wonderful CC skill. Either you're stunned or your turn meter's brought down to 0. It's pretty amazing. When it works. It doesn't always work though. That's kind of one of the tricks with it. So we want to definitely keep an eye out on that. He's going to basically use his A1 again. If we watch here, he has his A3 available. He has his A1 available. He loves using that A1 with the single stun and the turn meter. Now, obviously he hits hard. I haven't built to do that. So he's going to do some work for us, and that 30% turn meter boost is quite nice. So definitely not a problem there, but it is interesting for sure. He doesn't like to use A3, which is baffling because it seems like it's a pretty effective skill. It does a ton of damage when he uses it, but it is nice. We're getting stuns out like crazy. He's getting his turn meter, so he's actually going a lot faster than his 190 speed might think. But you're going to notice all he's going to use is A1 and his A2. He never uses A3, which is unfortunate. It's great getting those stuns out though. And in that sense, he's an amazing CC champ. I think if you build him as an accuracy build, I think he can actually be really, really effective, simply based off of reducing turn meter and stunning everybody. It's kind of a great way to go about it. So there is definitely a lot of potential to him. But what's interesting here is we're going to be going up against the boss, and we're going to see if he actually uses that A3, which he won't, against him. But here, I'll pause it. You can see he has all of his skills available. My guess is going to opt for the A1. Nope, opt for the A2. We did reduce turn meter, but not all the way. Obviously, stage 24, it's pretty hard to get it down to 0, and that's going to be one of the issues. But there we go. Again, he used that A1, does not like to use the A3 skill against the boss. All right, so we have this skill. Now he has all of his skills available. So we'll go ahead and use this A3, and we can see how strong it hits. Boom, 100,000 damage. It's a very nice skill. It does a lot of damage. It's not crazy. It's not the hardest hitting champion in the game, but it is very effective. Okay, so here we're going to go against Fire Knight. Now, this is not the normal team I run, so I can't just drop him in, but we are using him as our lead in our aura. Fire Knight 25, we are a good affinity for it. And you can see right there, he again uses that A2 skill. That's what he loves to use. Reduce turn meter, spread the stun around. It's a great skill. Definitely encourage it. But it's kind of interesting that he doesn't use that A3 whatsoever. Again, A1's all around. So we're going to use him. We should get a ton of stuns out here, which is great. Probably not a fast run, but it should be effective and hold steady at least. But yeah, you can see there, single target damage is really, really nice. The CC ability of him is incredibly good. And I would say kind of underrated as far as like how he can be used and best used in this game. Not only that, but if you can build him with damage, obviously he's hitting decently hard on this too. So he's not just CCing the enemy, but he's also killing them. Okay, finally at the boss. It took a good 4 minutes to get here. It's not fast, but it's working at least. But we'll see how effective this is. I'm still curious if he's ever going to use his A3. I don't think he is, but he uses A1 there, and I'm pretty sure he's just going to continue to do that or his A2 ability. But we'll see how effective this is as we can kind of go through. Now, he uses A1. Now, one of the great things is we have, we have ally attack as well as allure, so turn meter is not going to be an issue, but Roric should continue to drop that turn meter when he does use his A2 right there. You can see drops the turn meter, very effective, does some decent damage too with that. Now, one thing you can do, of course, is you can prioritize a skill to use his A3. I don't know that that's better. We're going to see how well this works right now. He obviously won't use it, but let's go ahead and see how effective this is against the boss. Boom, 160,000. I mean, it does work, guys. It does some damage. So it'd be nice if he could use that at least when he got to the boss, but it doesn't seem like that's a thing. My understanding is that's not how it's supposed to work. So I would imagine that there'll be an AI fix in the future, but we'll have to see about that. If they could fix that, at least against the bosses, that would actually be a really nice improvement. I don't think his A3 is something you want to use against the waves. Getting that turn meter boost and that stun is actually really, really effective, but it would be nice against the bosses to at least have that there. All right, let's go ahead and take him into Dragon 24. Now, 25 is a bad affinity, remember that, but 24, it is a good affinity, so we'll kind of get a good idea here. We've got Bad Alcazar, we've got the full squad here. Bad Alcazar, we've got increased attack from Arbiter there. So we can go ahead and see what he's going to do on auto. It's going to be the A2, turn meter reduction. Boom. There we go. Stuns out. It's a really nice ability right there. Getting that kind of CC is really, really effective and powerful, I think. So, but there you can see he again uses the A1. Now he's doing good damage. I mean, we're talking 30k a piece on that A1. I think it's about 60 or 70k on that A2. I'd have to see it again. But we can check out the A3 here. Let's see what kind of damage he does. Let's see if he can take out one champion all on his own. Boom, 150,000. It's obviously a skill that hits hard. How effective is it? It's a whole different kind of thing, but it's definitely a good one. So let's see here with his A2s coming up. what kind of damage he does. Boom. 88,000 damage. That's pretty solid skill, I would say. Pretty solid, I would say. He's got all of his skills are available. I want to see what he does with the big hit against the worm. He's not going to use it on auto. He's not going to do it. So let's go ahead and see what he can do here. Boom, 214K. That's significant. That's a nice hit right there. That's really, really good. So obviously the guy can do some damage, which is great for us. He does almost 100,000 with that A2 ability right there. Yeah, he's definitely can play, definitely can hit hard. And with such a high base attack, it's not that difficult to build his attack up, which I think is definitely helpful as well. So good champion. Let's go check him out in Spiders. Okay, now Spider's a totally different ball of wax from all the other dungeons as far as the way the mechanics work. So we're going on Spider 20 right now because it's going to make a bigger difference with the turn meter reduction. This is where I say he's going to be really good for your progression in this game. Now, I'm bringing a Chak in. I'm also bringing in Tyrant here. So you can kind of see a little bit different way this works. Now, normally you'd use the freeze here, but we're going to let Roric actually stun all the spiderlings. So I'm going to use the block debuffs and the strengthen here. And then we're going to let Roric go ahead and use this A2 skill on the spider boss. Now, if we want, I'll just go ahead and click auto because he's going to use this A2 skill and it should stun all the spiderlings. Boom. There you go. All the spiderlings are stunned, which means they don't take turns. That's wonderful for us, obviously. Then we get the freeze out and watch, he's still using that A1 skill, which is good. He's going to keep getting his turn meter back, which means he's going to have more opportunity to reduce that turn meter from the spider again. Now, he can't keep the spider queen down all by himself with turn meter, but he does come back around pretty quickly. He does knock that turn meter down. We are getting more than a few shots at this, so you can see we're already reducing the spiders. I mean, less than half health already. Spider 20. This is a pretty good little run here because of that. Now, obviously, we can't kill him right away, but you can see he's very, very effective against Spider. So as you guys can see, Roric Wyrmbane, the Hound, is quite a good champion. He's gonna be great for progression, really good in dungeon work. I think he's actually gonna be really good for a lot of people in Doom Tower advancement. So I definitely encourage you to go ahead and do this Fragment Fusion. I don't think you're gonna be disappointed by it. Now, obviously this is a hybrid build. Obviously I have very good gear on him as well, but it's clear if you build him just with accuracy as a CC champ, he can be very good. If you put him with a lot of speed, and I didn't even put a lot of speed on this build, if you build him really fast with a lot of accuracy, he's going to keep the enemy locked down for all of those waves, which is really effective. But you can build him in a hybrid style with damage, and I think he's going to be really good for you. You can build him all damage, and I think he can actually be really effective there too, since you saw that A3 can do some serious work. Obviously, there's some issues with the AI currently, but I would anticipate that that is going to get fixed at some point down the road. He's a really interesting champion, and I definitely encourage you guys to go ahead and do this Fragment Fusion. I don't think you'll be disappointed. But that's enough of that. It was fun. I'm glad you guys stuck around and watched everything. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and hit that notification bell so you know when my next one's coming out. It'll be tomorrow. But till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.